afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another week of our CAREB Power Hour. My name is Ria Cotton Landry, and I am your president of California for NARAB. And today we are going to talk about closing deals with solar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ria. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and give you a little bit of training on how to close deals with solar. So today I'm going to share 5 top tips for real estate agents, people working in the real estate industry on how to help clients buy and sell homes with solar. So I'm just going to dive right into this. I always like to get started and kind of let people know who I am a little bit. So let's do that. Again, my name is Marisa Fletcher. I am a half of a husband-wife team, DeMarco and Marisa, with King's Realty Group at eXp Realty. And we also own King Solar Pros. So I am a solar realtor, is what I tell people. Real estate has always been my love. My husband and I have been in the industry for over 20 years in real estate. I've been a realtist now, I want to say for 6 or 7 years. So I really, really enjoy what I do in real estate. And as a part of working in real estate, solar kept coming up during our transactions. So about 5 years ago, I got into the solar industry. I added on a solar division to our real estate company. So now when we help clients, we also can assist them with solar. A lot of our clients were going solar. And so it just made sense to align that business with our business. And now it's grown a lot, and I'm able to educate clients on how solar works and make their experience more comfortable. So that's what I'm here today to talk about. Just a little bit more about me. I have a couple degrees, business administration. I am a green certified realtor. So again, I am a real estate agent first and foremost, but I'm a green certified realtor. I believe in energy conservation. I believe in building generational wealth by not giving it all away to the utility company. We'll talk more about that. I'm a real estate trainer. I'm also a solar trainer and mentor. I am a California native. And just a little bit about me, my husband and I have 6 children ranging from 27 years old all the way down to 1.5. So just to share with you guys a little bit about who I am as a person, as a mom, as a wife, and as a business professional. Since we're talking solar, this map and these pins represent the clients that my husband and I have been able to help since 2020 go solar. So we specialize in Southern California, but we can help people in 22 different states with their solar, answer their questions, help them go solar. We're solar brokers, so we work with all the big companies that you've heard of before. You want to know more, I can always share that. Today, I'm here to share top tips. So 5 top tips. Let's dive right in. Tip number 1, solar has a bad reputation with real estate agents. Okay, so that's the first tip. The first thing I noticed in the industry when I became involved in solar is that realtors, they either love it or they hate it. Okay, so let's talk about that. This is a picture of someone that's frustrated. She's a frustrated real estate agent. Why is she frustrated? Normally at this point, I'd ask the audience to come off mute and we'll share some challenges, but you know what? We're just gonna jump right into it. And I'm gonna tell you what I found out in being involved in the industry the last 5 years. So the major challenges that realtors report with solar are, number 1, first and foremost, liens that need to be paid off. Some solar of the past used to put liens on people's homes that when the client then went to go and sell that home, they had all these issues and problems with them. So realtors remember that. Solar companies go out of business and they can no longer be reached. There's buyers that say that they don't want solar. So not as big of as a problem today as it was 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, I mean, there were clients that saw solar on a house and they didn't want to buy it. Okay, but it's different now. There's a bunch of different contract types, different system sizes, different payments that can be a little bit confusing to realtors, to clients. There's uncertainty about the condition of the solar system, the production of the solar system, or if it's even working. I'm going to talk to you about how to solve those problems. Unsure how to know if solar is a good value for the buyer, and difficulty determining that value for the buyer or for that solar system. So these were the common challenges that were reported or that I found over the last 5 years, the major challenges. And one big one that I've added in the bottom highlighted, solar systems do add some complexity to the deal. Okay, so there can be some complexity when that solar is on the system. A lot of it is lack of education, lack of knowing the answers to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 bullets. And if you watch this whole entire training, you're gonna get the answers on how to fix those problems. So what solar means for some real estate agents, not all, it means hassles and frustrations, delays, confusions, risk of the client being upset, and risk of losing the contract. And of course, as a real estate professional, none of us want to have any of these problems. None of us want to have any of these frustrations, and we don't want to bring challenges to our clients, right? Our job is to solve their problems, relieve their stress. I want to share with you today that you don't have to throw the baby out with the bath water. Guys, change is good. And when it comes to solar, change is pretty much inevitable. So I say don't throw the baby out with the bath water. I want to give you a couple of reminders. And this one is really old. It's not even dating me because this is pre-me. But back in the day, we used to have these really old school phones. Today we have what? Cell phones, right? When cell phones first came out, people were like, nah, don't need those. Where are we at today? Right? We only have cells. Back in the day, we only had regular light bulbs, right? Regular light bulbs. Today we have fancy LED lights. For those of us that have outfitted our homes with LED lights, we've seen the differences in our energy costs just by making that one change. But it's taken us a long time to adopt those LED lights, okay? And one that's probably a little bit more common, we used to have passports, postcards, letters. We saw those all the time. We used to go to our mailbox all the time. Today, what do? We go to our inbox. We go to our email. We go to our DMs. Okay. So the whole point of that is to say things have changed. And even though you may have had struggles in the past, solar is here to stay. So it's time to befriend solar, because with solar, change is good. Change is good if it's done the right way. So I want to get that first message across to my fellow colleagues, to my realtors that are out there. I'm still hearing some realtors that are like against it and they think it's really, really bad. And it's because of the days of the past. Things have definitely changed and things are better, a lot better for solar. Tip number 2, your clients are going solar with or without you. Tip number 2. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about solar market trends. I'm not about to bore you with all the details and specifics and just a little bit, but I do want to share with you some of the trends that are going on right out there in real estate that you should be aware of, that can help you with your clients' benefit. This is a aerial view of a screenshot of my neighborhood in Menifee. And what you're seeing are the homes that were built in 2015. And if you can zoom in, or if you can even see this, about 90% of this community has solar. I don't know why it's not 100%, because a lot of it was done with the builder, but about 90% of this community has solar. And this was in 2015 before it was required. Okay. This is an aerial view of my home. It's also the one on the Zoom behind me. And what you see here is 2 solar systems. One is a leased system. That's this bluish looking system. It's actually black. From the aerial view, it looks gray or whatever color that is, but it's actually black. I have a single story house. You can barely notice them, right? And then on the back of my house, I have a system that I purchased with my own, one of the companies I work with, and this is another solar system. So I like to point this out to realtors. I like to point this out to people that I'm talking to. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. When I bought this house 5 years ago, it had solar on it, a leased solar system, and I had no problem with buying this house. Single story house. It's a home that I love. It's going to be my forever California home. No problem with buying this house. Solar didn't make me think twice about it. Another thing is, in this 3,000 square foot single story home, my energy for the house, $130 a month. $130 a month. I've got about, this was a 25 year, so I've got 15 years left on this. After 15 years, I will power my house for zero after 15 years. Okay. This system on the back is one that I bought outright so that I could take advantage of some other benefits and credits. I'll get a value for this system if and when I do decide to sell this house, and that's to power my cars. So again, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. Solar is a good thing. Like I said, 90% of my neighbors have solar. Okay, so just how big is this opportunity? How big is solar? Just to give you an overview. All right. So in general, there's 130 million single family residences, 130 million single family residential homes. And of those homes, about 90 million are eligible for solar. Solar is not for everyone. It doesn't fit every house. It's not the person, it's the house, right? If there's shading, if there's issues and challenges, your house doesn't qualify, but 90 million homes do qualify for solar. Of those 90 million, about 4 million have solar right now. So that's about a 4% adoption so far, which leaves about 86 million eligible homes that can go solar. That is a really, really big number. That's, I mean, and that's nationwide, really, really, really big number of how many homes that are eligible that could go solar, right? In fact, in 2022, someone went solar every 44 seconds of the day in 2022. Okay, so real big opportunity. It's huge. Like I said, our clients are going solar with or without us. They're getting door knocked, or they're meeting people in the Big Mac stores, right? And they're going solar with or without us. Why not be able to help some of those clients or be able to guide them anyway? All right. So in a survey done by Forbes Home back in 2022, there were some questions asked of people regarding solar, right? And I'm not going to go through every single one, but I do have 4 key points. In that survey, almost 50% of survey respondents said they plan to install solar in the future on their homes. 50% of people that don't have solar today plan to install it in the future. 60% of those respondents say they're concerned about their home's impact on the environment. 75% said it's important for them to switch to solar within the next 5 years. And 36% of respondents cite upfront costs as the main hesitation to installing solar panels. So the biggest hurdle to installing solar was upfront costs, cost money issues. That's changed. Also, and that was just in 2022. Also, what we notice is that even homes that don't have solar now, they're thinking about it, they're considering it. There's some major reasons why. Let's go over some of those reasons why homeowners are going solar and why they're doing it now. The biggest reason, just flat out, biggest reason, save money on utility bills. In a survey done by Pew Research Center in October 2022, again, save money on utility bills. 92% of the respondents, survey respondents, that was their major concern, saving money on these bills. Okay, I mean, and as we know, as we've seen with inflation, everything going on with the market, those things just go up, up, up. How do we save or lock in costs? 81% of the respondents are concerned about the environment. 64% get a solar tax credit. I was one of those 64% in 2022 when I put that other system on my house, right? So get a solar tax credit. And then 59% said because it would be better for my own and my family's health. So 2 major things: save money and live long. Save money, live longer, okay, is what we see when people generally go solar. Another thing that's happened with solar of today, zero down financing is very, very common, right? Whether you're buying a system outright, whether you're leasing the system, whichever way you're going, there's generally and usually no money out of pocket, okay, and zero down financing. So no money required up front. Your monthly bill may be similar to or less than your current utility bill, but sometimes it's a bill swap, okay? You currently pay your utility $250 a month. Your solar payment may be $250 a month. But guess what? The difference is that $250 a month is going to be locked in, just like my situation. When my bill is $130 a month, it's been that since 2015. Okay. All right, couple more reasons homeowners are going solar. They are future-proofing their home. Kind of my scenario. I drive Teslas. My husband and I both drive Teslas. We're in the real estate industry. We drive a lot. So now with all these panels on our home, we future-proofed our home. No gas, energy comes from the panels. It's an awesome thing. We're improving our carbon footprint. It adds value to your home. If you do it the right way or a certain way, it's going to add value, not all the time. Cities and states are requiring solar. I'm in California. So if you're watching this in another state, it may not be there yet, but in California, as of 2022, every new home built has to have solar. Okay. And there's many communities in California that were ahead of the curve. Like my community, for example, they started putting solar on in 2015. But as of 2020, you have to go solar. You build a new home, it has to have solar. And any detached ADU or accessory dwelling unit, granny flat, casitas, mother-in-law quarter, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you've heard, those have to have solar on them as well. Okay. Solar helps you take control of your energy costs. It helps you gain energy independence. It can protect you against outages, blackout protection. And there's leverage credits and rebates that are available depending on which way you decide to go solar. One of the real big incentives that had a lot of people going solar and a lot more considering it is the 30% federal tax credit. So when you own a system outright, there's two advantages that don't come when you lease a system. One of those advantages is a 30% federal tax credit, right? That you may qualify for, you may be eligible for. Now you have to pay into the feds to be able to use the credit. So if you're in that boat that does not, this doesn't work for you. But if you are in that boat that can benefit from this tax credit, it comes directly off your tax payment. So it's not a tax deduction from your taxable income, but it comes off of the federal taxes that you owe, up to 30%. Okay, so that can be a huge benefit. And then another benefit, if you own a solar system, if you purchase it or you own it with financing, but you own that system outright, when you turn around and sell your home, if and when, it's going to add value to your home. Now, it kind of works for all realtors in the room, or we're realtors or real estate professionals that are watching this video. It depends. It's kind of like a pool, right? When you buy a house and you have a yard for a pool and you pay to get your pool put in, when you turn around and sell that house, you get value on your house because you have a pool, but you don't get exactly what you put into it. Solar is kind of the same way. Okay. There's a lot of real estate professionals that believe that that's not the case. Again, remember, I'm in real estate. So I've sold homes that I've actually put solar on because I've been in solar for 5 years now. And yes, if the appraiser or the lender is not familiar with how it works, they may reject it and say there's no value. But if it's an owned system and you know that there are Fannie Mae guidelines that you can literally print out from the internet, send it over to your lender, you get value for those systems. Okay, so this training, that's one tip right there on how to help your clients. If they own those systems or pay for them outright, there's a little bit of value add to that house in equity when it comes time to sell it. Okay, and that's Fannie Mae guideline. You can pull that right off of Google and help your clients with that. All right, so those are the two benefits if you own a system versus sell a system. But here is the main reason why solar is going to be here and it's never going to go away. Since 2003, the national average utility prices have nearly doubled. I'm sure everyone in this room may have experienced that. You may have seen those electricity bills going up, up, up. If you haven't, your clients may have, okay? I'm sure that they have. If you just take a look over here, this was on the news. This was for San Diego, which used to be the highest in the nation, San Diego utilities. These were their rate hikes from 2019 to 2022, 11%, 6.9%, 5.1, 4.9. Those were their rate hikes each of those years in the utility costs. So whether you use more utility or more energy or not, these were what the rate hikes were, right? Now, in 2020, 2021, they were giving us breaks. 2022, they were giving us breaks because of what we went through as an economy. They were giving us breaks in those increases. But now those increases are coming back and they're stronger. 22% is the latest increase from PG&E. 22% at one time. At one time, and they're probably going to do it twice in a year. Usually that's what they do. But 22% was the rate hike that just happened in March of this year with PG&E. Okay, so that was a breaker discount. This is Edison, Southern California Edison. And in 2000, people were paying about 13 cents a kilowatt for energy. Fast forward to beyond 2018 till around today. In 2018, that doubled to 26 cents today. 26 cents, sorry. Today in 2024, this is more what it looks like we're paying for energy. This is a current grid for energy costs in 2024. At the down peak times, you're paying 34 to 25 cents. And then in the high peak times, between 4 and 9, 54, 45 cents with Edison. Okay. That's literally how much the utility prices have increased. Another thing that Edison has done is the way that we used to pay for our energy over in here in 2021, we used to, the more energy you use, the more you pay. So if you or that homeowner was a low energy user and they stayed in a lower tier, they were paying about 23 cents a kilowatt, and that was it. Higher, the more they use, the more they pay, right? That was called a tiered system. Today, Edison has changed the way that they charge clients, and they use something called a time of use rate. So it's based on the time that you use energy. And those time zones are 4 to 9 and 5 to 8. Between 4 and 9 p.m. and 5 and 8 p.m. is when you're going to get charged the most for using and taxing the grid. Okay, that's how they've come up with their new way to charge for energy costs. Just ways to further gouge consumers, in my opinion, but we won't go there. Okay, so if you're still on tier, great. They haven't rolled everybody over yet. But if you see a sudden spike, take a look at your bill and make sure they just didn't change the way you use your energy. or the way they bill you for energy. And again, I like to show facts. There was actually 2 rate hikes with PG&E. January 2nd of this year, they did a small, I think this was a 6% rate hike, which was only $24 a month on average for the average customer. In March of this year, they just got another one approved, 22%. Okay, so now PG&E is the most expensive power provider in California versus SDG&E, which used to be San Diego. Right, so I'm showing you all this information, guys, to show you why your clients are going to go solar with or without you at some point. Why my clients were going solar without talking to me or without me, because of those costs. They're trying to control those costs. There's clients that are paying $600 a month in energy costs, and that's nothing to them because they're used to it. $600 a month. I used to think $250 was ridiculous. Okay, but now that average bill is a whole lot higher, especially if you're in, sunnier climates. I'm in the Inland Empire, super sunny, super hot. Okay. So your clients are going to go solar with or without you. Before they go solar, though, they should talk to a trusted realtor. They should talk to a trusted professional that can help guide them, right, in making this decision. All right. Tip number 3. Now, this is the part that's more the education part. It's going to go deep into that. If you have your phone, you can take screenshots of this. This will be the stuff that you want to use in the future. If you can understand these basic concepts, you'll be able to guide your client, tell them what to look out for, tell them, if they say, I'm selling a house with solar and it's this, then you'll understand what that means when it's time for you to sell that house to the next buyer. Okay. So this is the meaty part. Tip number 3, know how to decipher solar contracts. So there's basically 2 types of solar contracts, one that's owned or one that's rented, right? I like to break it down into real estate terms. There's 2 ways to be in a house. You can rent a house or you can own a house. There's 2 ways to be in solar. You can rent solar or you can own solar. Okay, nice and easy. If you own solar, it's going to be either by a cash purchase or by a loan. Okay, so there's 2 ways to own that, just like with a house, cash or loan. If you rent the solar, that's called non-owned solar. Another term is TPO, stands for third party owned. TPO, third party owned. Fancy way to say a lease. Okay. There's 2 versions of it. One is called a lease, one is called a PPA. PPA stands for power purchase agreement. Power purchase agreement. It's just a fancy way to say a lease. They do not own. Okay. So 2 ways to go solar. You can rent or you can own solar. Just like there's 2 ways you can be in a home. You can rent a home or you can own a home. Okay. So those 2 ways. Now let's break those 2 ways down. When it comes to ownership, when it comes to owning a system, what are the pros and what are the cons of owning a system, right? Remember, I have 2 systems on my house, a lease system and an own system. So what are the reasons that people own a system? The main reason people are going to go solar, lock in electricity rates during the life of that loan, and then you get free electricity afterwards. Okay, so lock in electricity rates through the life, free electricity afterwards. That's why one of the ways that's the reason you're going to go solar. The reason I decided to own my system was I wanted to take advantage of that 30% tax credit. Okay, first system I put on my home, 30% tax credit. It ended up being about $9,000, somewhere around that for me. In my case, that came off of taxable income, federal income tax that I owed. Big advantage. Okay, and that system's going to add a little bit of equity to my home when and if I do decide to sell. Okay, because it's going to be working. Right? Or if I do decide to sell, I can transfer that loan to the new homeowner and they're going to get reduced energy rates, reduced costs for the life of that system. Some cons of owning that system, and it's not really a big con, but it's things that we should talk about. It's what happens. It may increase the homeowner's insurance. I think my homeowner's insurance went up $40. Probably, I think it was like $40 and $30 or something like that, less than $100 for both systems on my house. Right. So when I got those, first when I moved in, I had to let them know the first system was there. When I added the last system, I had to call them and upgrade, let them know that system was there. So should something happen to my home, heaven forbid, both of my solar systems are covered and not, and they'll be rebuilt or re-put back on if something happened to my house. Okay. Another con is that some companies offer shorter warranties for owned systems. All right. So those are the questions your clients need to look out for. If you know they're going to buy an owned system, have them ask about the warranty. I have a 30-year additional warranty on top of my system on my house. I wanted to make sure that when I added that system, there was any issues or problems or anything that came up, I wouldn't be out of pocket anything. Okay, so that's what you want to make sure your clients look out for. Okay, add it to their homeowners, make sure, talk about the warranties, but that's the benefits of ownership, solar ownership. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right. All right, what about a lease? What about a lease? Okay, so in a lease, there is a fixed escalation rate, which is usually lower than the expected electricity rate hikes. So what happens in not all, but some leases, let's say they help a client go from, I'll give you an example that I have. We helped the client go from 550, she's actually a real estate professional. Her average bill is $550 to $570 a month, right? And that's taking the low months and the high months. We put together a system for her with 2 batteries, full blackout protection. That payment, I think, was $247. Okay, but it's $247 with a 2.9% increase every year. So it starts out today at $247. Next year it goes up $6. Next year it goes up $5. Next year it goes up $7. Next year it goes up $8. Very slow increases. By the time they get to year 25, they'll be at $540, which is what they pay today for energy costs. Okay, it's actually less than what they pay today for energy costs. So it'll take them 25 years to build it up to that amount. Now, why did they get that escalator? Because it makes their payments lower in the beginning, and then you get up to a regular payment towards the end. After that final payment, though, no more payments. They got that energy for free, and that price is lower than what the utilities are raising them. 2.9% is way lower than the 6% or 22% that the utilities can raise us at one time. Okay. Leases are advantageous for homeowners who do not qualify for the tax credit. So if you know your homeowner has no federal tax liability, a lease might be the best way for them to go. And it includes insurance and maintenance for the life of the system. So you really don't have to worry about the warranties as much, because whoever owns the lease, the company, the lender that's dealing with the lease, those are going to be the ones that take care of the insurance and the maintenance of that system for the life of it. So anything goes wrong, you have, as a homeowner, just have to let them know something went wrong. They come out and take care of it. When and if you sell that home, that lease is transferable to the new owner. Just like when I bought my home, I took over that $130 a month payment that those first 32 panels cost on my house. Okay. In some leases, you're able to buy it out after the 5th year. Okay. Or you just buy it out when the house is sold, or you can buy it out at the end of the contract, pay out the contract for the amount of the term, and now it's bought out and owned by you. And with leases, they do not impact debt to income ratio. So if you have someone that's an investor buying multiple homes, don't want their debt to income to go up, but they want to save money on their electricity bill. I have the swimming pool company that teaches my son to swim. He's 1.5. They teach him to swim out of their home. So they have a swimming pool business out of their home. Their electricity bills are $1,100 a month on average. But they're business owners. They don't want debt to income. They don't want to show a $400 a month solar payment. They don't want that to show against their credit. So a lease is a good option for them. They can go, I think they'll be like 470, something like that, because they have like 4 batteries. They have a whole system, but they went from $1,100 a month down to 470, right? And they opted with the lease option so that when they go to invest and do other things, they're not affected. All right. So the cons of that is the solar system is not an owned asset, so it doesn't add equity to their home. Okay. So the scenario I just gave you, when and if they sell their home, it's not going to add any equity. But if they're going from $1,100 a month to 470, they can take that money and save and put it in an interest-bearing account or something and make it up that way. With a lease, the homeowner cannot apply for the 30% tax credit. It's a lease. And then sometimes there were hassles transferring the lease if the solar company is responsive or out of business. So there's ways to get that done, but us as the agents have to know how to chase that down, because escrow is not going to do it for us. The seller doesn't know what to do. No one else really knows what to do. So there's ways to get that done, and you're gonna learn how to do that to help your clients. So that's a lease. Last one, power purchase agreement. It's just like a lease, slightly different, but it's just another way to say a lease. Okay. Fixed rate, but it varies based on the amount of energy that is used. Okay. So they're paying for the energy that's used. They're not buying the equipment. They don't own the equipment. They don't lease the equipment. They're paying for the energy that's being produced by the equipment that's on their house. Okay. That's leased out by the leasing company. Okay. So power purchase agreements are advantageous for people who do not qualify for the tax credit. It also includes insurance and maintenance on the system for the life of the system, and it does not impact debt to income ratio. So it just depends on what programs, what state you're in, which ones you can use. Some states, power purchase agreements are not allowed at all. They're illegal in the states, Florida being one, I believe. So it just totally depends on what product you get. Some of the cons: solar system is not a known asset, so it does not add equity to the home. Homeowners cannot apply for the 30% tax credit. And again, same hassles if you don't know how to get it properly transferred over. So those were some of our biggest challenges back in the day. I remember homeowners thought they were buying a system that was owned, not leased. They may have been told that, or they may have been led to believe it was an owned system. And then they're looking for a tax credit or looking for a tax check, and that's not there, right? That was some bad things that used to happen back in the day because it wasn't properly explained to them how solar works, okay? All right. So in regards to the UCC1 liens, that was the very first challenge that was on that list, and the biggest thing we don't like as realtors are the liens. So now what they do UCC1 equipment liens. It's the most common type of lien. The lien is on the equipment, not the house. It only applies when the system is financed or leased. So if you own the system, there is no lien. If it were leased and then it became owned after the lease was over, there is no lien. The lien gets removed. Now those UCC1 equipment liens, you can just lift those so you can refinance. Back in the day, there was something called Hero and Pace. Okay. And with those type of liens, you can't lift those. Those are tied to your property taxes. So you can't lift those to refinance. You got to pay those off if the client wanted to refinance. Okay. So you got to know the difference between the two. There's not that Hero and Pace no more. As realtors, we didn't like Hero and Pace, and rightfully so. That's why they've switched over to ownership in different types of ways to go solar that are more beneficial to the homeowner and don't hurt them when they want to refinance and things like that. Okay. A UCC1 lien, though, must be paid off at the time of sale or transferred over. Okay, it can't just stay on the house. That's the purpose of the lien, so that no one just sells the house and they don't get paid out for the solar system. Okay, but no more liens that have to be paid off or take first position. Now they're equipment liens, so that's a beautiful thing. Warranties. When it comes to transferring warranties are fully transferable to the new homeowner. Okay, so when and if I decided to sell my house, let's say something happened and I'm selling in a year, those systems are still covered for 30 years or up to 30 years, the remainder of the contract, to that new homeowner. Okay, and the same thing for anyone that buys a home with solar on it. So look into those warranties. The equipment warranties are usually 25-year on the panels and 12 to 15 years on the batteries. Okay, so if your client's got 3 batteries, those things are going to be warranted for 12 to 15 years unless they do certain things to extend those warranties. Solar companies' warranties, they all vary. So depending on what company you go with, they all have different warranties. Some are 10 years, some are 12 years. I've got companies that have 30-year warranties. So they all vary based on the company, and the terms vary based on the contract type. So usually the first thing as a listing agent, if you're selling a house with solar on it, you're going to ask for that contract and you're going to look at those warranties. Just read through it, find out what the warranties are so that you're able to have a good idea. If you got really strong warranties, like a 30-year warranty, then that's something I'm going to be selling to that next client that's looking to buy this house. Okay. So a key action: contact the solar installer to transfer the warranty to the new owner, whether it's a paid off system, whether it has a loan or a lease. If it's a loan or a lease, you have to anyway. But if it's a paid off system, I've seen where some realtors kind of ignore it. They don't worry about it too much. No, you want to tell your homeowner, you want to call that company that owns it and give them your information so that if something goes wrong, your homeowner is covered, your buyer is covered. Okay, so that's a plus to you as an agent that knows that information that you can share. All right, tip number 3, know how to decipher solar contracts. This is the only way to avoid solar sales nightmares. So where the problems come up is we don't know what it is, we don't know what it entails. When we can just order the contract or get a copy of the contract, have the seller get a copy of the contract, assist them in getting a copy of the contract, all the terms and conditions are there. We pass that over, that's disclosure. You do not have to be a solar expert. You just got to get the right information over. All right. Tip number 4. This is a quick and easy one. Assemble and educate your team. What do I mean by that? You want to inform your team about the solar system. Again, coming from a listing agent's perspective, there's a solar system on this house. You want to inform everybody about it so they get to work on it and there's no holdups or anything when it comes to that system. So you let them know if it's a lease, PPA, or a loan, if it will be paid off or has been paid off in escrow. Okay, you got to let escrow know all that. How do you know? Order a copy of the contract, talk to your seller, find out, do they plan to pay it off? Do they plan to transfer it over? It all depends on that seller and their situation. They could have had the solar system for 20 years. Okay, and that means their situation is different come the end of that situation. So there's no one size fits all ever. It all depends on what that situation looks like. You let your assistant and the rest of your team know so that they do the proper marketing, they put it in the listing contract, and that everything addresses the solar. Okay, don't ignore it. Title company for the UCC1 filing, and you can also go through title to find out the information of the company so that you can get the original solar contract if you don't have it. Another easy way to get the solar contract, if it's from one of the bigger companies, I'm not going to name any names, but if it's one of them big guys, been around for 40 years, 24 years, you guys see them in Costco, now in Home Depot. If they're a bigger company, they usually have an app for whatever that system is, right? When I bought my house, it was a big company and they have an app. And I was able to log into that app and download what that contract was to pass it over. So if you're working with a seller and they say they don't know, find out the name of the company, look it up to see if there's an app, and you can probably get the contract that way. Okay. You want to make sure that escrow or you contact the solar installer to initiate the transfer. Guys, I've seen solar transactions or real estate transactions where the escrow holder eliminated themselves from the solar disclosure. They put in there that the solar is the responsibility of seller, buyer to disclose whatever, and they had a clause to eliminate themselves from anything related to the solar. It was different, but it was in there. So I was thankful that I knew about it. I knew to get them a contract. I knew to get them some basic information so that they're not just left in the lurch once they buy this house. But yeah, we got to be kind of on it because unless we all get on it, there's things that are going to be missed. You can find a solar partner to help you review solar performance reports, the utility history, review the contract. I've done that for many of my buddies, for their clients, reviewed the contract, let them know if it's a good deal or a bad deal, what it looks like in the end, how they can, is it a benefit? Is it less than what you would be paying to the utility? Totally depends. With the buyer's agent, you want to make sure you highlight key terms in the contract for the buyer's agent. So one of the easier ones is when it's a paid off system, right? And people put real big paid off solar. That's great, right? But you just want to make sure that you give all that information over to the buyer's agent. And for the lender, you want to make sure the solar is going to be accounted for correctly. So when you're dealing with the lender, like in the beginning, cross qual, whatever it is, let them know that this is a solar home and that you need a solar friendly appraiser. An appraiser that's familiar with how solar works and how to add value for the solar. Okay, if it's an own system, okay, because that's the problem that we have with transactions. They sent a regular appraiser. Either the appraiser just didn't know about solar or didn't like it or whatever. They gave no value. We had to go back and say, no, this is a paid off system. Please add value. And we got 15 grand worth of value. Okay, better than zero. And it was probably like a $25,000 system. So, you do the math. All right. So that's what you want to do with your solar team. If you don't have a team, get one. If your escrow is not familiar with solar, you might want to find one so that when you get a solar listing or when you're selling a house with solar, well, at least on the listing side, that they do the proper steps to make sure everything's disclosed. Assemble and educate your team. The sooner the better. Tip number 5, and we're right on track there. So tip number 5, gather documentation early. This might be another one that you want to grab a screenshot of. Because it's nice and easy. What documentation do you need to gather? Again, mostly from the listing agent side, selling a home with solar on it, but you want to gather as much of this information as possible to make it understandable, to make the transfer easier to the new buyers when it comes to solar. The contact information for the solar installer. Obviously, if we have that information, if the installer is still in business, you want to provide the contact information for that installer. The original contract. I just gave you a tip on how you can find that contract. If not, you can go through title based on a UCC1, find out who that installer was and do it that way. Performance report showing solar system production. That comes from the app, okay, from the installer. You can literally log in there. I can log into mine and it'll tell me over a year, over a month, a year to date, how much solar this system has produced. Okay, great way to check if the system is working. If you're unsure, if you want to know if it's worth it, if your system produces 11,000, 12,000 kilowatts a year, right, and you're paying 20 cents a kilowatt or 15 cents a kilowatt, and the utility company is charging 45 cents a kilowatt minimum or 35 cents, is there some savings there? Is there some value there? Let's show it with the information. Show them a recent electricity bill, right? Because if you have solar, you know that all the energy is coming from the system and you're only paying $12, $13, sometimes $5, $6, whatever that is a month to the utility. Small bill to be connected. Show them that, okay? Electricity usage history before and after. Some homeowners have that, where they can show you before, this is what this house used to cost, after this is what this bill is. Don't you think that's great information to provide to any new buyer that might be on the fence about considering whether to buy this home with solar or not? Right? Where you can show them the bills on average for 350, or my example now, 550 to 570 on average, and she's going down to two something, right? Just shy of 300. Annual summary report from the utility. Every 12 months, the clients get what's called a true up. True up. So if you're selling a home, you're the listing agent on a home, ask them for their true up bill. Okay, and that way you can take a look at it and see if the solar system is sufficient, if it might not have been sufficient. On the good news, if it was really sufficient for the family, you can show that. Okay, if it wasn't, you don't necessarily have to show that, but that's some information that can help you when you have a really good system installed, help you let that other buyer know that it's a good system. Any warranty information is really good to have. I know when and if I ever decided to sell my home, one of the selling points is I'm selling the system, it's paid out outright, the one on the back, and here's the warranty information, right? It's got a 30-year warranty. Anything ever go wrong, call this number, you're good to go. And then, are you missing any key information about the system? I've seen agents that have sold a home with the solar on it, and the solar never worked. It didn't work before they sold the home. It didn't work after they sold the home. The reason it was coming to me is because the client was upset at the agent. They were calling me to find out, what can we do to get it fixed? It was an orphan system, et cetera, et cetera. But you see where the problems could come up? If you haven't had them before, that's great. That's awesome. And we hope we never have any problems when it comes to helping our buyers and sellers with homes. But do you see where they could come up? Something was never disclosed at all to them, and they feel like you didn't represent them by telling them anything about this or providing them information. Don't tell them you're not a solar pro, but at least provide them with the information they're supposed to have, right? So missing key info, you can have a solar inspection performed. All right. Tip number 5, gather info early. This is key for a successful sale. And we are now rolling up on our last and final tip. Tip number 6, the biggie. The reason why I give these kind of trainings and meetings, give accurate disclosures. We got to disclose to the clients about solar. The way to make it easy is to give them the contract, right? And that takes it all off of you. As a listing agent, you can upload that contract in the supplement section. There's a couple of pages on the MLS, a couple of bullets you got to check. I'm going to show you those. And then you just enter the right information right off the contract on the MLS. You're good to go. Okay, that's your disclosure. It's in the supplement section. It's going to get given to them, before you close. You have disclosed. And now they can read that contract and find out everything they need to know about the system they're inheriting and really know that they're getting a good deal or a bad deal if it's a bad deal. Okay. All right. Solar advisory and questionnaire. So this form is in our CAR legal forms in California. Who completes this form? The seller. The seller completes this form. So you have your sellers sign these forms, these documents, and give them over to the buyers, right? Why do you want to do that? Because it explains everything about solar, if it's owned, if it's leased, advertising materials, the contract, how to transfer it, solar evaluation, what I just talked about, like a solar review or evaluating the system. It talks about all that in this disclosure, 2-page disclosure. Your seller completes it just like the TDS. So it's not on you as the agent, but the seller has to complete this and disclose properly. They disclose what they know, or they assign the contract and get it off of the contract. Okay. Also, the SBSA has been updated to talk about solar panels and net metering. Okay, especially in California. We're one of the second states right now. I think we're number 2 right now. Texas is number 1 leading in solar installs. We were number 1 last year, but now Texas is taking us over. We go back and forth between the 2 states. But our SBSA in California has a section 60 talking about solar panels and net metering energy. Okay, there it is right there. So it talks about it. It talks about the liens, how they work. Okay, and it explains what net metering is. Right? So you might not quite understand it. We don't work for SE. I didn't understand it prior to getting solar experience, but I know I can go through a form and read it, or I have my clients read it so that they can get a better understanding of what it is that we're doing. All right. So those are the seller disclosures you want to make sure you get filled out. In the MLS, remember I mentioned we add the supplements, and then we add a couple of sections. Here are the main sections under the power production tab. Now this is a CRMLS matrix. I don't think they call it that anymore, but CRMLS, power production tab, right? And it's asking, is the home under power production? It has solar on it. What type? Photovoltaics. Am I saying that right? Yeah, photovoltaics, however you say it, I don't, PV is the short term for it. That's how I say it. This is an example of my house. Year it was installed was 2015. This system was leased. So if I would have clicked that tab, I would have put that it was a leased system. The power production size, right off the contract, is 13 kW. Power production, 13,000 kWh. You don't know what that means, but it's right on the contract. Nice and beautiful. You don't have to know. Okay. And then power production annual state, it's actual. Okay. So again, is it actual? Did you get it out of the off the contract? Did you get it out of the app? That's what you fill in there. And guess what? You don't have to fill in these sections. So these are not required on MLS yet. It's just really, really good to have that info there for proper disclosure, but you don't have to just yet. Okay. Under the green features, which is the tab right before, says is the house green verified? Yes. What does it have? Solar on it. Solar on it. Okay. So those are the couple of tabs there. And in the feature description. So I wanted to point something out so that there is not confusion. Okay. In the feature section for MLS, there are 6 mentions of something solar related, 6 mentions. A few of those, like the spa features and the pool features where it says solar heat, that's not the solar that's on the roof of your house. That's not the solar that I'm talking about. Okay. The solar PV that we're talking about is for the electricity that's run through the house. So it might affect the pool pump, but it's not how your pool is heated. Some people have solar, I forgot what they're called, but they're like long things that lay on their roof. There's 4 or 5 of them, and they have pipes that run up through the roof that heat the water of the pool. Okay, and so that's what this is referring to when it comes to spa or exterior solar heat. It's not talking about PV solar. It's talking about a contraption that goes on the house that was really popular some years ago, a decade or so ago, really popular, that was being sold, door knocked and sold door to door, and no longer, as far as I know. But those things were being sold to heat people's pool, run the water up to the roof, get it heated, and run it back down. Okay, so that's what that solar is referring to. If you have a listing with that on it, those are the things you want to click. But if you're just talking regular solar for the energy of the house, like what I have on my roof, those are the actual panels. Okay. And so you're going to see that in other sections in the MLS that you click off. All right. So last final tip for the day, tip number 6 was give accurate disclosures. It's our job to advise our clients on the home. Yes, the solar too, right? You're selling the house with solar bolted to the roof or with the ground mount, solar bolted in the backyard. As a realtor, as a listing agent, we've got to give some type of disclosure. That's the easiest way to do it, to keep ourselves, no liability on us, just passing over the disclosure, but also to make sure that people are aware of what it is that they're buying into. I've helped clients that I helped a gal that lived in Michigan and moved to California. And she thought that once you have solar on a house, that's it, right? I actually helped her. I didn't help her buy the house, but that she came from Michigan to California, and she thought that once you buy solar, that's it. You can use however much AC you want. You can use however much, you run the lights 24/7, keep the AC on 24/7, and you just never get another bill. Well, where I met her was 1 year later when she got her true up bill, and it was $2,000, right? And she's like, why do I have a $2,000 bill from the utility company? Right. And so I did a little education session. I explained to her, you're using more energy than the system can manage. He says, oh, maybe we should turn the air off. Maybe we should turn the pool pump down. Maybe we should make a couple of adjustments, not run space heaters, make a couple of adjustments. She didn't worry about it before because she had solar. So she thought no matter what, it's covered. Right. So anyway, did a little education, trained her about it. It's based on the size of the system, et cetera, et cetera. Now she has a better understanding. Now she can manage her energy better. She won't be getting $2,000, $3,000 true up bills at the end of the year. Save her some money, save her some headache. Okay. So again, had there been some proper disclosure between whoever she bought the house from, whatever, she may have had an idea of how that worked. And that's where it's going to come into play, where we can help clients as real estate professionals and true whole home advisors. Okay, so just a few more slides. So guys, you're looking at all this, you're like, thank you, Marisa, for the information. We greatly appreciate it. Now we know how to decipher certain contracts. We know it's an MLS. We know there's a couple of disclosures we got to fill out for it, but now what? I've got a client that wants to go solar. My client asked me about it. And what do I tell them? Like, I'm not about to learn all this stuff. Like, no, what do I do? The real beautiful thing is, I work with referral partners. Solar, there's referral partners. And when you help a client go solar, when you refer me to help a client go solar, we have a referral program that's going to pay you $1,000 a referral. So one of my realtor referral partners, $8,000 last year, 8 clients that went solar. Those clients were going to go solar either way it went. Okay. But now they had a trusted a consultation, broke everything down from a real estate perspective, not a solar perspective, not just a sales perspective. Not, I want to just put these panels on your roof and now that's it. From a real estate perspective, are you going to move in the future? Is this your forever home? You know, are you planning to buy electric cars in the future? What does that look like? Right? So that they don't have to do panels today and then put more panels on 6 months from now. Right? All those things come into play. When you're in real estate, it's better to have a trusted solar partner, especially one that knows real estate too, that can help that client from all angles. So $1,000 is that ambassador program. There's a scan QR code there. If you're watching this on YouTube or on replay, it will be on the YouTube in the description, the information where you can find out more about that. And again, just to share with you guys, I am a realtor at heart and a solar pro second. And I did that out of a need. Our clients had a need. They are going solar. And if they're not talking to a trusted person, they may get sold the wrong thing. They may get told the wrong thing. It's very common in the industry, unfortunately, because it's all a mindset. How are we approaching this? Okay. So if you use that, scan that QR code, I have a quick 3-minute video that I made that I share with other realtors and tell you why you should find a trusted solar partner to work with so that you can help those clients that are going solar around you, or at least know that they're not getting taken advantage of. Okay. So if you want to scan that QR code, you can go ahead and scan it. It'll take you to that 3-minute video. And then we're not going to watch it now. Last but not least, my name is Marisa Fletcher. I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. I am a solar realtor. I love homes. I love solar. Yeah, let's go. After the training stops recording, if you have questions, let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was great information. And I thank you. There was one question I had with the solar. I assumed that my experience in the past had been that they had to qualify, that it did affect their debt to income ratio when they're purchasing a property. Or is it just that they have to qualify with the solar company for the financing of the lease?
Very, very good question. It actually depends on which way they go. Okay, so if they it will affect their debt to income ratio if they're doing ownership and doing it with certain companies where it'll show up on that credit, the lender can see it. So it'll show up so the lender knows there's a payment involved with that. When they go leases though, there is no effect to the debt to income ratio. So if you're dealing with a client that does not want that impacted, the best option for them is to look at a lease or a PPA product.
Great to know. Thank you.
Some companies don't sell everything. They might only sell purchase or might only sell financing to get that. So it all depends on who you're talking to, right? I'm a solar broker, so I don't work for any particular company. I just have access to all of their stuff. But some people work for a brick and mortar or mom and pop or a shop. And they may like for instance, I helped a client because one of the bigger name companies, whoever they were working with, they would only do ownership for him. I'm sorry, they would only do a PPA for him. They did not offer him ownership. So he came back to me and he said, well, I want to buy the system outright and I just want to pay cash and I want to get the system, but they won't do it. I said, well, we will. Right. And it's because that company, they only tell their reps to sell PPAs. So it totally depends on who you're talking to, where you're getting that information from. They might be incentivized better to do one product over the other.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, my video talks about that a little bit. The 3-minute video I shared, it talks about some of the problems of solar in the past and how there's a solution now where it doesn't have to be that way. But that's one of the problems.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll let Parisha hand it over to Parisha to close us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's always good to hear about the solar and things like that. And thank you, Marissa. You're always very thorough. I just wanted to close it out and say thank you, actually, Madam President, for always being here and always showing up. I mean, I actually said I wasn't going to show up and she didn't even give me no grief. She was like, all right. So I really do appreciate you and that type of thing. And thank you for everything. Is there anything you want to say before we close out, Madam President? Any announcements or anything? And you can close us out if you want. I'm gonna get off the speaker because it's kind of loud back here. Thank you guys and have a great rest of the day.
Right. Well, we do have the summit coming up in June. So Parisha, thank you for putting that together. Our June summit will talk about real estate side hustles and basically all of the various different industries that real estate professionals and realtors tend to do. Looks like one of them. So yeah, definitely check out our website, krab.org, go to our events page and check out our summit coming up, our virtual summit coming up in June. And it's free for members. And then there is a nominal fee for non-members of $50. So definitely check that out. And then that I think that concludes our power hour. So again, thank you, Marissa, for joining us. And I know I'll be watching this again.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you here next week.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see you next week.
Bye-bye.